Welcome back to my first video of 2022, and in today's video I thought I would kick things off in a good way for the new year, and it is 5 cars that you can buy cheaply which are all fairly luxury, with all being 4 doors and all under £3,000. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below, and I make weekly car content. Hope you're having a great year so far, and let's jump straight into it with the first car. It is the Jaguar S Type. Now the Jaguar S Type is a car that I actually really like. I love Jags and I've always liked British cars. This is a really good way to start off the new year because you could buy something on the cheap and still look and feel pretty luxury. This is the early days of the Jaguar S Type, and it was sort of a long and forgotten car. It had sort of like great gawping mouth, and it was made from 1990 to 2007. And this was Jaguar's flagship back in the day, and it came in different types, so it was kind of flared arches, bigger body kits. But for the most part, these are great value. A lot of these can be under £2,000 now. And of course, the main reason I love these Jags is because it is the older day of the Jag, where you get all that wood and leather sort of interior. And of course, with the engines, they're all quite thirsty. Some of them are petrol, 2-litre V6s, 3.5-litre V6s, 4-litre V8s, very thirsty cars, and very good engines. Now, some might be surprised to hear that this is actually a car that is a reliable car. A lot of these often go to 125,000 miles, 150,000 miles, and that's why you'll see a lot of them on Auto Trader. Of course, they're all automatic, so that's something to bear in mind if you do want one of these, because it will cost a lot to repair an automatic. But that being said, I think it's a really nice car, and I do love S-Types. You don't see them very often, and you just know when you do see them, it's someone who really likes Jags and likes a little bit of luxury in their life. So one to consider going forward. At number 2 is the Audi A8, a car and brand that I think Britain and the world is very much in love with at the moment. Now, this car I've gone for is well known for its luxury because it is a pretty long and pretty executive looking car. Now, these cars are a bit old now. They're 2008 roughly, and some of these you can get for under £3,000, but I can guarantee those will go for ages. Kind of similar to the VW Phaeton at the time, although that came out a bit sooner. It kind of shares similar platform and interior. And with these cars, they are actually really, really good. It has some great things about the A8s, even though they look quite boring. They're very reliable V8s. They come with almost an aluminium chassis, and of course it was in Transporter, not forgetting, which gives it that coolness about it, I have to say. Otherwise it'd be pretty boring. And some bad parts, of course. Fuel economy is pretty lacking. The car from the outside I think is quite boring. It doesn't have a lot to say about itself. When it comes to reliability, these cars are actually really good at what they do. Considering it's such a big car with all the parts, it actually goes for ages, and they often do hundreds of thousands of miles, similar to the Jag. Now, if you remember, Jeremy Clarkson even did a road test with the petrol, and it lasted a lot longer than expected. So these cars really do shine through. At number 3 is a car I think a lot of people will possibly have very much Marmite taste towards. It is the BMW 7 Series from 2001 to 2008, also known as the E65. Now, this car is probably one of the most hideous cars that actually came out of BMW at the time, and they weren't really that popular. They were very expensive, and obviously now they're super cheap. Here's one I found for £1,500, only 102,000 miles. Of course, they are very luxury, and I think a lot of people could actually benefit from this. As long as the car's had a lot of maintenance done over its years, it should be good to go. Now, obviously, it's got all the old BMW information systems and tech, so it will be pretty awful with all the iDrive from almost 20 years old now, but they have seriously powerful engines. Now, if you've seen a YouTuber who actually modded it with a V12, some have big donks in America, others they were used as wrappers in the America as well for dub edition cars, and they had a weird sort of flavour to them. Sometimes they could be good, but for the most part, I will admit, I do not like this car. However, I think someone could, and I really like the fact that it is luxury and they're so cheap. You just can't avoid that price. Now, yes, maintenance on these big 7 Series will be hideous with a 6-speed automatic, but they do have a lovely 3-litre petrol, all ranging up to 4.8 on some of them. So, a car to consider, and obviously, don't forget, it was Drive Tribe's most ugliest car, so bear that in mind if you are looking at these. At number 4 is one of my favourite cars on the list. I will admit, this is my favourite car I put on the list. It's the only Japanese one I've gone for. It's the Lexus GS300. Now, I've gone for some of the later ones, which I'll explain in a minute, but it's also known as the Toyota Aristo. This is one of my favourite cars because it's a very understated sedan. Now, I could have gone for the later LSs or the early LSs. Similar prices to a lot of Lexuses to choose from, but I want to stick with the GS300s because I think they're kind of like hidden JDM cars and very popular to modify as well. I think one of these are great. I'd love to own one. Now here you can see it is a Toyota, as I said before. They were branded differently for some countries, but we got the Lexus in this country. However, both are great and both are very reliable. Made from 91 to 2005, some of these were really long periods of time in production, and you don't really see many of them on UK roads right now. When you do see them, they are modified. I think a lot of enthusiasts do particularly like them, but they are a very reliable car. Here's one for just under £2,000, and it's covered 137,000 miles. And here's the GS, which I'll go on to now, which is £3,500. Now, this is a slightly updated GS, and this one, to be fair, I love this one. You don't see this as much on the UK roads again, and it's just a car people didn't buy as often. However, being such a luxury and executive car, probably the most on this list, I think this is really good value, and a car that you just really don't get to see, and I think would still testament to time to newer cars today. Now, these are quite fast, come with a lovely interior and almost a bit of wood, and I first discovered this car actually on Test Drive Unlimited. Of course, there's the older GS, which is also a really awesome JDM car as well. So again, here it is in its form, the Lexus. I prefer this model just because I like the older style looking ones of the 90s, but all great prices and all really good reliable cars. The final car, and it is British this time, so a completely different choice again. It is the Rover 75. Now, a lot of people might look at this as a really boring choice, an old granddad's car in fact. Now, the Rover 75 is actually a car that you don't see very often anymore, and that's because obviously Rover went out of production and it went bust, and the 75 was made from 99 to 2005. And what makes this particularly good is that it's a car that is built for people who want luxury on a budget, and because it was the Rovers group who made this a car, it was an executive build, and it's actually claimed to be one of their best cars they've ever made. It's obviously got that old style British interior, wooden, kind of like the Jaguar S Type, actually very similar to the interior of the S Type. And these cars actually, surprisingly, with their V6 engines, anywhere from 1.8 petrols and diesels, ran really well. Owners actually noted, with which as well, saying obviously cars had their problems, but for the most part these were really reliable cars, and because there were so many parts available from the industry, they were able to get fixed straight away. And Rover 75s, even if you can find a GT on my previous video, really good cars. Hope you've enjoyed all these luxury cars on a budget, and going forward, guys, I'm going to try and make the content a lot more exciting. I might even try and show my face on the videos and just be a lot more personal. If you have, obviously leave a like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. We're growing. We're nearly at 500 subscribers, so can't wait to see what's in store for this year. I hope you're having a great year. I'll see you in the next one.